One of my smartest friends, Mutegi Mran Kharudi, posted something on his socials. It was a video that was shot, I don't know where, but the conversation was about the protocols of government when it comes to its interaction with traditional leadership. The speaker, the person who was caught on the video talking, was saying, in short, that traditional leaders or kings and queens have carried their authority wherever they go. That in their interaction with an elected official, be it a member of the executive council and MEC or member of parliament, in a setting where they are meeting, the king or the queen has authority over the politician, meaning is an office that the person carries wherever they go, that there is never a time when an elected politician has authority over a traditional leader. Well, that's interesting, because when you go back to the foundation of traditional leadership, it was the leadership. It was the one and only leadership. There was no leadership above it. And at the time when traditional leadership, wherever, anywhere else in the world, was adopted as a form of governance, there was no election. Every person attached to the institution came through the decree or the dictates of the traditional leader. In a way, you'll have a king, a queen, and then you'll have council, and then you'll have those responsible for different regions, Dindona, Indona, or Matona. And those will be people not elected by the people, the subjects, but those are people appointed by the king or the queen. So in a way, the hierarchy at the top of the pyramid was the king or the royal family, and then you had Matona, and then you had everyone else under that. So they existed to serve at the behest of the traditional leader. So in that way, wherever this traditional leader went, they always were above everyone else, because the institution of traditional leadership cannot, there's been the attempt being made with the British royal family, with other royal families, the attempt being made to make it coexist with so-called democracy or elective politics, but it is not designed to exist with that. That is why I've got this conflict now pertaining to the video that I said my friend, very smart boy, very smart IT, very smart Lighty. I'll say Lighty because he's far younger. Posted, but he's a man, comrade. It's this attempt to find a space for both the traditional leadership and the politics of the time to coexist, whereby you end up now with a king or the queen coming to a community, and then the MEC for COGTA, Cooperative Governments and Traditional Affairs, is there, and the king wants to be above, to be above the MEC, even though the event is an MEC event, it's a government event, and it creates confusion because the MEC is the host, and it can't change that the host suddenly become the hostess simply because there's a king. But I dissected that video really to understand it in this way. Number one, King Misuzulu Kazwelithini, the king of the Zulu people, not of KwaZulu Natal, the king of the Zulu people, is a king in his kingdom, which is in KwaZulu Natal, and is a king of Amazulu. It's not my king. It's not the king of the Shangaan. King of the Shangaan is Ngumalo. It's not the king of the different Tsonga tribes. You've got the ones in Wamito, they've got their own queen. You've got those in other areas, they've got their own queens and kings. He's not the king of Basotho. The king of Basotho, Kilitsie. the third. And this was the king of Botswana. Botswana, they've got Balutleri, they've got those kings. I forget them, but I know them. Now, if uZwelithini, if Mrs. Zulu kaZwelithini came to the northwest, to Botswana or Balutleri, Kgoshi Molutleri of Rar, and he arrives there and they are already seated. They're seated. It's an event where it's being hosted by the king of Botswana, not Botswana, of a community of Botswana, because there are lots and lots of ethnic communities within the band of Botswana. I don't think he needs to get there and think he's got authority over the people there. I don't think so. Kasi spade bare phukube ya tshela moedi ke mtlana, meaning a jackal, once it crosses the boundary, it becomes a dog, which means it's subject to whatever dogs are subjected to. But I'm just literally really explaining it. In African culture and tradition, a king is called the father of this nation. Papa, the father of the nation. And a father is only a father in his own household to his own children. Whatever laws, whatever dictats that the father has, they cannot be taken from him to me. If I'm hosting a party and you as a father of Solomzi or Mtunzi or Mtushi or Banebani, you come through to my party, you are not the father of everyone at my house. Your fatherhood begins and ends at your gate, or it begins and ends where your family is, which means if you took your family to a picnic, even if it's not at your home, but you are still the father of your family, but you are not the father of any other child at the park, at the picnic. And you cannot throw your weight around. If in your family, your kids don't sing or they don't put earphones when they're in the household, you cannot go to a park and see my kids with headphones and suddenly say to them, no, pull out the headphones, you can't have headphones. You can do that at home, you can do it with your kids, but you cannot do it with my kids. Okay? Now, which comes to the issue at hand. When does traditional leadership, when are we going to have traditional leadership instead of understanding its role? There was a place called Aran Mariti in Bushbuckridge, whereby local government, Bushbuckridge municipal local government, they wanted to install high mast lights because there was a lot of crime. And it took time. They were not doing it. It will be on the IDP, and then the next thing is not on the IDP. And when I asked around, they said, look, the king, you must understand, I use king quite comfortably because I don't want to subscribe to this thing of chief. Chief for me doesn't exist because chief is something that really works on the embrace of the colony, on the embrace of the Commonwealth, to say everyone else is under King Charles and everyone under this is a chief. You are just there to implement the laws. But I'm saying king because people have got kings. Kgoshi. We don't have chief in African languages. Kgoshi. Kgoshana is a prince. Now, so going back to the issue, so I went there and said, but why is this place so underdeveloped? There's crime, but you can't have high mast lights. So they said, the king of the place said, bright lights at night are going to blind the livestock. The cattle are going to be blinded because it will be bright throughout the night, and then that's why they were not doing it. Why is there no road? No, the king of the place says tar road is going to head the cattle under the hoof. That if they walk on a tar road, they're going to. So the place remained underdeveloped because Hamarongwan, yeah, it was called Hamarongwan, because the king says nothing should happen. And I fail to understand, why should local government take dictates from a king? A king says you cannot develop this place, and then it's fine, you're not going to develop it. Even though the laws are very clear in South Africa that there's cooperative governance, there's cooperation between local government and the traditional leadership. It doesn't say traditional leadership has got authority, because there's no king that owns land. Because somebody said, no, kings own land. No, municipality cannot come and just develop. The land is owned by the king. The king owns no land. The king holds land in custody on behalf of the community. The land is owned by the community. The community wants tar roads. The king has no option but to release the land for tar road. If the community wants high mast lights, the king has no option but to allow that to happen, because kings exist because of people. You are not the king without the nation. Not subjects. This thing of subjects is so foreign. Not subjects without the nation. You are the king without the nation. You exist at the behest of the nation, to serve the nation. If everyone in the nation was removed, you are not a king. There is an English saying that that's about leadership. They say a leader without followers is just a man taking a walk. If you are a king without the nation, you are just a man taking a walk. You are not a king. You are not a leader. So that quandary of kings, wherever they go, they've got authority, it stops. It can't be. Where do you get authority? Authority is land, and you don't own land. You're just holding it on behalf of the community. The community has got the final say, and the community elects the political leadership that I'm talking about. The MSCs are elected, which means the MSCs who represent the people have got the final say over what should happen. So a king cannot just say, oh, because I'm a king, I can dictate what needs to happen. No, you can't. The public, through their publicly elected representative, have got the final say, and the traditional leadership needs to know that the game stops here. It's not a game that's everlasting, whereby as long as I'm a child of a king, I'm going to become king and I'm going to have authority even over traditional leadership. So, yes, when there's an event, and is an MEC hosted event, a government event, and the king comes through, yes, the people will rise when the king comes and sits down. But not everywhere will they rise. I wouldn't rise if Mrs. Zulu walked in where I am in Bushbuckridge. I don't think people in Basotho, in the Free State, or they need to feel compelled to rise and honor a king of other people. People must honor their own king. Like, honor your father and your mother. Honor your father because the king is your father. And don't force other people to honor your father. Because if you don't honor your own father, no one else will. So the responsibility to honor that king rests with the people whose king it is, and not everyone else, and not elected officials. Like and subscribe to ASAP, a South African Perspective, and let's make the circle bigger.